can tell you from experience that an artist with 1,000 plays and 10,000 plays, the difference isn't talent. It's actually your strategy. And so I want to just start by telling you a story. And so you can learn from my mistakes. I want to give you all the lessons without any of the scars. And in my time, I've worked with 4 different artists that taught me everything I need to know about planning a release. And each of them had a different strategy, how they thought they were going to make it big. And so the first artist spent a ton of money on press and radio. So they hired a big boutique PR agency to pitch them to all of the top blogs, newspapers, publications, YouTube channels, that sort of thing. Then they had a radio plugger who booked a national radio tour in Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, and other cities. So they were on the biggest radio stations in those cities. They had the biggest presenters who did the drive time breakfast show or the evening show, and they had an interview when most people were listening. And it was crazy. The press campaign would have cost anywhere up to £7,000, and that's probably the low end, right? The radio tour, they needed to have a driver. There were 3 artists in the band. I'm not going to give you the name of the band so I don't get sued. So they needed hotels, they needed petrol, they needed food and drink. And to stay in all these cities, it must have cost them up to £10,000. Then they had YouTube premieres on like GRM Daily and Link Up TV, and those easily cost £1,000 each back in the day. Yet they struggled to sell even 100 pre-orders at 99p. Showing my age here, this was before the streaming era. This was when you bought music at 99p for a pre-save of a single. And so I quickly realized that press and radio, all that mass coverage, didn't make people convinced enough to buy the song. And so I've realized that this is not the only solution to grow as an artist. The next artist, a couple of years later, they thought a music video was the way to go. They wanted to make such a high production that it would get in the monthly or the daily and the hourly rotation of music videos that got played on like MTV Base and Channel U and the Kiss FM channel. And so I went along to the music video shoot, and it was crazy. Crazy. It was a massive warehouse with a really high ceiling. There was a filming crane making all these sweeping shots, and there was a director of videography, and there was a camera crew, and there was a runner crew doing all this stuff. And I just started to think how expensive this was, that none of it is being filmed social media first. Everything's being filmed landscape for the music video. No one's thinking about the vertical video for social media. And so imagine if they spent like easily £4,000 to £12,000 just on the venue, right? That's a cost you can't even ever get back. Then they had the director, the editor, the runner crew. Even they probably spent about 15 grand, right? Then the stylist for the clothes, the makeup, and for hair easily was like £2,000 to £4,000 for the ego of the artist to make them look good. And in the end, it didn't get put on the playlist off those video channels. And so they got 1 or 2 spot plays, but that was it. And so I begged the artist, let's put it on YouTube and promote the shit out of it. And they didn't want to look desperate, so they only posted about it once. And I was saying, you are desperate. You're struggling to hit 1,000 plays on YouTube. Can I have some ad budget? Can I run up the plays? They'd run out of money. They'd spent it all on the production of the content rather than the marketing of the content. And so once again, I learned that having a flashy piece of content isn't the best way to succeed. Artist number 3 had a huge Instagram following. They'd done hundreds of competitions over the years, and they'd built up 250,000 fans. So they thought that ads and playlists was the way to go. And they had multiple playlist teams, one in the UK, one in the US, one in Europe, and one in their home country in the Mediterranean. Right? They had the production from a really high-end production duo, like these two producers. They had a feature vocal from one of Bob Marley's kids. And I just started thinking of all the money they were spending. Easily up to 10 grand on playlist companies. He gave me a Facebook ads budget that was close to 20k, a YouTube ad budget that was close to 25k. Those fees for those artists would easily have been between 12k and 34k. And you probably guessed what happened, right? The song got deleted had 10.4 million views on Spotify. They detected a bunch of suspicious streams coming from one city. And this is the problem when you use playlist, especially pitching companies and you don't do it yourself, is you have no control of what playlist you're being put into. You're just getting streams, but you don't know the origin or the authenticity of those streams. And so once again, I realized that playlists isn't the way to go. And ads are a very expensive way of driving views. A one-time listener. It doesn't do anything to convert them into long-term fans. And so once again, I realized this wasn't the strategy. And so all of these three artists had big budgets. The fourth artist was broke. Me. As a young DJ who was making mixtapes in his bedroom. Right? These DJ decks here, I don't even use them as much as I used to. Right? And I had a SoundCloud account with around 10,000 followers. And after 3 copyright strikes, it got terminated. Right? I used to make little refixes putting an a cappella over a popular song and make DJ edits for the club. And so when my account was deleted, I lost all of my mixtapes. Like I used a monthly mixtape for 4 years, all gone. I never backed up the files to free up storage space on my Mac. So on this brand new account, I wrote a long caption from the heart, explaining the meaning of the mixtape. And I just been in a relationship with this girl. We'd been together 2 or 3 months, and she ended it. And I kind of made a mix. The whole vibe of the songs I chose, the lyrics that were there were like, I wish we never even met, so I wouldn't have to feel the way I feel. Right? I was emotional. And so I created a bunch of short form content with lyrics tapping into the situational emotions of each song. And so one free mixtape uploaded on a brand new account with no followers, you'd think I'd be screwed. But I actually hit 109,000 streams on this mixtape. It was called Positivity, Time to Move On. There's a screenshot right there from 7 years ago, and I've got another screenshot of the date of termination of my account. So 100,000 plays with £0 budget spent. And so soulful storytelling was the thing that unlocked this for me. If this video was helpful, I want you to subscribe and show your support on this channel by leaving a comment. I drop weekly trainings how you can level up as an artist. I want this to be better free content than any other guru that you follow. And so if you're ready to make your next song release your best release ever, I can't wait to work together.